They say a dog's loyalty is absolute, unwavering, pure. But what happens when that loyalty is questioned? When the very instinct that makes them extraordinary becomes the reason they're feared? This is the story of Titan, a German shepherd who was once called a hero, then called dangerous, and finally understood. Before we begin, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from today? Drop your state in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories travel across our great country. The morning began like every other morning for the past 3 years. 5:30 a.m. The kennels at the Detroit Metro K9 unit sat quiet in the pre-dawn darkness. Most of the dogs were still asleep, curled in their beds, breathing steady, dreaming whatever dreams dogs dream. But not Titan. He was already awake, had been for the past 20 minutes, sitting at attention in his kennel, ears forward, eyes alert, watching the hallway, waiting for the sound he knew was coming. The sound that started every day. The sound that meant everything. Footsteps, heavy boots on concrete, a particular rhythm, a familiar weight. Titan's ears twitched, his body tensed, not with fear, with anticipation, with purpose, because he knew those footsteps, knew them better than he knew his own heartbeat. Officer Garrett Wolf appeared at the end of the hallway, tall, broad-shouldered, 35 years old, but carrying himself like a man who'd seen more than his years suggested. 10 years on the force, 3 of them with Titan, the best 3 years of his career. Wolf didn't need to look at his watch, didn't need an alarm, because Titan was his alarm. Had been since the day they partnered. The dog knew when it was time, always knew. Some kind of internal clock that never failed, never wavered, just like everything else about him. "Morning, boy," Wolf said quietly, his voice rough with sleep but warm. Always warm. He knelt beside the kennel door, met Titan's eyes through the chain link, ready to work. Titan's tail moved, just once, a single controlled wag, not excitement, acknowledgement, because work wasn't something to get excited about. Work was duty, work was purpose, work was the reason he existed. The kennel door opened, Titan stepped out, moved directly to Wolf's left side, sat without command. Perfect position, perfect posture, perfect control. 3 years of partnership had created something beyond training, something deeper, a connection that didn't require words, didn't require commands, just understanding. Wolf's hand rested on Titan's head, a brief touch, familiar, reassuring. "Let's go earn our keep." They walked through the facility together, past the other kennels, past the training equipment, past the bulletin board covered in commendations and news clippings. And there in the center was Titan's record. 47 missions, 47 successes, 0 failures. The highest certification scores in the unit's 20-year history, numbers that other handlers looked at with a mixture of respect and envy. But Titan didn't care about numbers, didn't understand records or statistics. He understood scent, understood threat, understood the difference between safety and danger, and he understood Wolf, trusted him, would follow him anywhere, into fire, into darkness, into whatever came next, because that's what partners did. The morning briefing was routine, patrol assignments, sector updates, nothing unusual, nothing urgent, just another day keeping Detroit safe. Wolf listened, took notes. Titan sat beside him, alert but calm, reading the room the way he always did, watching faces, monitoring body language, cataloging every person in the space. Threat assessment was constant, automatic, instinctive, no threats detected, only colleagues, only family. After briefing came training, the yard behind the facility, chain link fences, obstacle courses, scent detection stations. This was Titan's domain, where he excelled, where he proved day after day why he was the best. Other handlers brought their dogs out, watched, learned. Because watching Titan work was like watching poetry. Fluid, precise, effortless. Every movement had purpose. Every action had meaning. No wasted energy, no hesitation, just pure competence. Show them how it's done, Titan, Wolf said. He placed 3 identical containers in a row. Only one held the target scent, explosive residue, chemical compound, the kind of thing that could end lives if it went undetected. Titan approached, nose down, working methodically, left to right. His breathing changed, became focused, deliberate. Each inhale was analysis. Each exhale was elimination. The first container, nothing. The second container, nothing. The third container, he sat, stared at it. Absolute certainty. Good boy. Wolf marked the find. Titan remained sitting, didn't move until released. Discipline was everything. Control was survival. They ran through scenario after scenario. Missing person track, building search, vehicle inspection. Each one executed flawlessly. Each one reinforcing what everyone already knew. Titan wasn't just good, he was exceptional. The kind of K9 that came along once in a career, maybe once in a lifetime. By noon, the training yard was quiet again. Dogs resting, handlers grabbing lunch. Wolf sat on a bench near Titan's kennel, unwrapped a sandwich, took a bite. Titan lay beside him, head on his paws, relaxed but aware. Always aware. You know what they say about you, Wolf asked, not really expecting an answer, just talking, the way partners do. They say you're the standard, the bar every other K9 gets measured against. Titan's ear twitched, acknowledging the sound if not the meaning. Captain Blackwood told me yesterday. Said in 20 years he's never seen a dog like you. Wolf paused, looked down at his partner. Said I better not screw this up. Better not let anything happen to you. A shadow crossed Wolf's face. Brief, almost invisible. But it was there, concern. The kind that comes when something feels too good, too perfect. The kind that whispers in the back of your mind that nothing lasts forever. But he shook it off, finished his sandwich. Come on, boy, let's get you some water. The afternoon passed quietly. Paperwork, equipment maintenance. The mundane tasks that filled the gaps between action. Titan dozed in his kennel, but even in sleep his senses remained active. Processing sounds, cataloging smells, building a map of his environment that updated constantly, automatically. At 4 p.m. Wolf returned. Dinner time. He filled Titan's bowl, fresh kibble, clean water, set it down. Titan approached, sniffed. Then something happened that had never happened before in 3 years. He turned away. Wolf frowned. Not hungry, boy. Titan sat, looked at the bowl, then looked at Wolf. Something in his eyes, something Wolf couldn't quite read. Uncertainty, unease. You feeling okay? Wolf knelt, checked Titan's temperature with the back of his hand. Normal. Checked his gums, pink, healthy. Maybe you're just tired, long day. But it wasn't normal. Titan always ate, always, like clockwork, like everything else in his perfectly regulated existence. Refusing food was anomalous, wrong. I'll call the vet, Wolf decided, just to be safe. Dr. Ellen Stratton arrived 40 minutes later. The department's K9 behavioral specialist, 40 years old, sharp eyes, sharper mind. She'd worked with police dogs for 15 years, seen everything, or thought she had. She examined Titan thoroughly, listened to his heart, checked his joints, ran her hands over his body, looking for pain, for swelling, for any physical explanation. Vitals are perfect, she said finally. No signs of illness, no injuries. She stood, brushed off her knees. Probably just stress. Even the best dogs have off days. Stress from what? Wolf asked. Nothing's changed. Same routine, same everything. Stratton shrugged. Could be anything. Weather changes, hormonal fluctuation. Sometimes dogs just need a break. She smiled, reassuring. Give him some rest. He'll be fine by morning. But Wolf wasn't convinced. He stayed late that evening, sat outside Titan's kennel, watched his partner. Titan lay curled in his bed, eyes open, staring at nothing, or staring at something no one else could see. What's wrong, boy? Wolf whispered. Talk to me. But Titan couldn't talk, could only feel, could only sense. And what he sensed was something coming, something wrong, something he couldn't identify or articulate. Just a feeling, deep in his bones, in his instincts. A warning his body was giving that his mind couldn't translate. Something was about to change. The call came at 11:47 p.m. Wolf was home, asleep. His phone vibrated on the nightstand. He grabbed it. Years of police work had trained him to go from unconscious to alert in seconds. Wolf, we've got a situation. Captain Russell Blackwood's voice, gruff, urgent. Warehouse district, industrial sector near the river. Reports of suspicious activity, possible trespassing, maybe more. I'm 10 minutes out. Bring Titan, we need eyes we can trust. Wolf dressed quickly, called the station, had them prep Titan. By the time he arrived, his partner was already waiting, vested, ready, the refusal to eat from earlier seemingly forgotten. Because when duty called, everything else disappeared. Training took over, instinct engaged, purpose activated. They loaded into the K9 unit vehicle, Wolf driving, Titan in the back compartment, alert, focused, reading Wolf's energy, understanding without being told that this wasn't routine. This was real. The warehouse district sat on Detroit's eastern edge, where the city met the river, old industrial buildings, most abandoned, some converted, others just rotting, waiting for demolition or renewal. Whichever came first. It was the kind of place where bad things happened in the dark, where people who didn't want to be found could disappear. 3 patrol cars were already on scene when they arrived. Lights off, engines quiet, officers positioned at perimeter points. Standard approach for potential hostile situation. Contain, assess, engage. Wolf parked, clipped Titan's lead. They approached the command position where Blackwood stood, studying the building. A 3-story warehouse. Windows broken, doors hanging crooked, graffiti covering the lower walls. What do we know? Wolf asked. Anonymous call came in 40 minutes ago, Blackwood said. Reported seeing lights moving inside. Voices, could be squatters, could be something else. He looked at Titan. That's why you're here. Let the dog tell us what we're dealing with. Wolf nodded, looked down at his partner. Ready to work. Titan's body shifted, muscles tensing, senses sharpening, from standby to active in a heartbeat. They approached the building, 2 officers flanking, flashlights sweeping. Titan's nose was already working. Even from outside, he was cataloging, processing, building a scent map of what lay ahead. The entrance was a loading dock, metal door hanging half off its hinges. Wolf pulled it open. The screech of rusted metal echoed through the night. Everyone froze, listening, waiting for response. Nothing. Police, we're coming in. Wolf's voice carried through the darkness. If anyone's inside, make yourself known. Silence, they entered. Flashlight beams cutting through the black. The interior was vast. Open floor plan, support columns every 30 feet. Broken pallets scattered everywhere. Empty chemical drums. Debris. Years of neglect compressed into layers of decay. And scent. Titan's nose pulled him forward immediately. He had something. Multiple things. Complex. Layered. His breathing changed, became rapid, focused. The way it did when he detected something important. What is it, boy? Wolf kept his voice low, calm, trusting his partner's judgment. Titan pulled right toward the eastern wall. His body language was clear, confident. He'd found what they were looking for. But something else registered. Something Titan's brain processed differently. A second scent, separate, distinct, coming from a different direction. Humans, two of them. The first was ahead, moving, fresh. The scent Titan was tracking. Fear sweat, adrenaline. Someone who knew they were being hunted. But the second was wrong. Chemical. Wrong. Not natural. Not right. Titan hesitated. Just for a fraction of a second, his head turned toward the north corridor where the second scent originated. Focus, Titan, Wolf commanded. Gentle but firm. Track. Training overrode instinct. Titan continued forward, following the first scent, the primary target, but in his mind a conflict was building because the second scent, the wrong scent, that was the one that screamed danger, that triggered every warning system in his body. They moved deeper into the warehouse, Titan leading, officers following. The scent grew stronger, fresher. They were close. A sound, metal clanging, sharp, sudden, from ahead, beyond a wall of stacked crates. Titan reacted, barked, loud, urgent. His training said alert. His instinct said threat. There, an officer shouted. A figure broke from cover, running, fast, disappearing into the shadows on the warehouse's far side. Stop, police. The team moved. Following, pursuing, Titan pulled hard on the lead, wanting to chase, to catch, to complete the mission. But that second scent, it was moving too, in the opposite direction, toward the east corridor, away from the team, away from the lights, into darkness. Titan's head snapped toward it. He planted his feet, pulled against the lead, barking, not at the running suspect, at something else, something the team couldn't see. Titan, no. Wolf jerked the lead. This way, come on. The conflict in Titan's mind intensified. Duty said follow Wolf, follow the team, follow the visible threat. But instinct, deep, primal, screaming instinct said the real danger was going the other way. The thing they couldn't see, the scent that didn't belong. Titan, Wolf's voice carried frustration now. What are you doing? The team was pulling ahead, chasing the suspect. Titan was falling behind, distracted, unresponsive. For the first time in 3 years, he wasn't following commands perfectly. Wolf pulled harder. Come on, boy, we're losing him. Titan's body trembled, torn between training and instinct, between obedience and warning. He barked again, toward the east corridor, tried to communicate what his nose was telling him, what his gut was screaming. There's someone else here, someone dangerous, someone wrong. But no one was listening. The suspect reached the far exit, crashed through a door, gone, into the night. The team reached the door seconds too late, swept their lights across the alley beyond. Empty. He disappeared. Damn it. An officer kicked a broken pallet. Lost him. Wolf looked down at Titan, disappointment in his eyes. What was that about? You had the scent. Titan stared back, breathing hard, not from exertion, from frustration, from the desperate need to communicate something he had no words for. I tried to tell you. I tried to warn you. But Wolf couldn't hear it, couldn't understand it. The team swept the warehouse, top to bottom, looking for the suspect, for evidence, for anything. They found nothing. Whoever had been there was gone. The mission logged as unsuccessful. Suspect escaped. No apprehension. As they prepared to leave, Titan pulled one more time toward the east corridor, whining, low, insistent. Wolf followed, shined his light down the corridor. Empty, nothing visible, just more debris, more decay. There's nothing there, Titan. Wolf's voice carried concern now, not anger, worry. Come on, let's go home. But Titan knew, could smell it, could sense it. The second person had been there, was maybe still there, hidden, watching, waiting. In the official report, filed later, there was a single line buried in the notes. Easily missed, easily dismissed. Unconfirmed second movement detected East Corridor. No one followed up. No one investigated because the dog had seemed confused, distracted, off of his game. And that was the first crack. The first moment where trust began to fracture. They drove back to the station in silence. Titan in the back compartment, restless, pacing, the confined space suddenly feeling too small. His breathing was rapid, irregular, nothing like his usual calm post-mission demeanor. Wolf glanced in the rearview mirror, watched his partner with growing concern. Easy boy, it's over. We're done. But it wasn't over, not for Titan, because the scent was still in his nose. The warning still pulsing in his brain, unresolved, incomplete. Mission not finished. Threat not neutralized. His mind kept replaying it. The moment he detected the second presence, the moment he tried to alert, the moment Wolf overrode him, pulled him away, made him ignore what every instinct screamed was wrong. Confusion built on confusion. Had he been wrong? Was the scent misleading? Had his nose failed him for the first time? No. He knew what he'd smelled, knew it was real, knew it was dangerous. But Wolf didn't believe him, didn't trust him. That thought was new, unfamiliar, painful. By the time they reached the station, Titan's agitation had grown worse. He couldn't settle, couldn't process what had happened. The unresolved threat looped in his mind like a broken recording. Wolf led him to his kennel, removed the vest, filled his water bowl. Get some rest. We'll figure this out in the morning. But Titan couldn't rest. He paced his kennel, back and forth, back and forth. The same path, the same pattern. Like he was still in the warehouse, still tracking, still trying to reach the threat no one else would acknowledge. Wolf watched for a while, then left. He had paperwork to file, reports to write, a failed mission to document. Alone in his kennel, Titan continued pacing. Hours passed, the sun began to rise. Other dogs woke, started their morning routines. But Titan didn't sleep, didn't eat when breakfast was delivered, just paced and remembered, and couldn't understand why no one had listened. The morning training sessions started at 8 a.m. routine, standard. Wolf arrived to collect Titan, opened the kennel door. Come on, boy, let's work some of this energy out. Titan emerged, moved to Wolf's side, automatic, trained. But something was different. A tension in his body that hadn't been there before. A coiled spring wound too tight. They walked to the training yard. Other handlers were already there with their guns, running drills, practicing commands, normal morning activity. Wolf attached the training lead, lighter than the tactical lead, more give, more trust. Sit. Titan sat, but his eyes were scanning, searching, his senses on high alert, looking for threats that weren't there. Stay. Wolf walked away, 20 feet, 30. Titan remained sitting, muscles quivering, fighting the urge to move, to search, to protect. An officer across the yard was unloading equipment from a cart, metal poles, training barriers. He lifted a section, lost his grip. It fell. The sound was sharp, metallic, echoing across the yard. Clang. The same sound from the warehouse. The same frequency. The same suddenness. Titan's brain didn't process it as training equipment falling. His brain processed it as threat, as the moment in the warehouse when everything went wrong, as danger. His body reacted before his mind could intervene. He lunged, not toward the sound, toward Wolf, to protect him, to put himself between his partner and the threat his instincts were screaming about. But Wolf wasn't expecting it, wasn't braced. Titan's 90 pounds of muscle and momentum hit him at full speed, knocked him backward, off balance. Wolf stumbled, fell, Titan on top of him, barking, frantic, trying to shield him from danger that existed only in traumatic memory. Tighten off! Wolf's voice was sharp, commanding, but edged with something else. Fear. Titan's jaws were near Wolf's arm, not biting, not attacking, but close. Too close in the chaos, in the confusion, in the desperate attempt to protect. Three officers ran over, grabbed Titan's lead, pulled. Hard. Get him off. Get him back, Titan resisted, not understanding why they were pulling him away from Wolf, why they were stopping him from protecting. His confusion amplified. His stress peaked. He thrashed, barked, fought against the restraint. It took all three officers, all their strength, to pull him back, to separate him from Wolf. Wolf stood slowly, breathing hard. His left arm had a tear in the sleeve, red showing underneath, not deep, not serious, but blood. His dog had drawn blood. The yard went silent, everyone staring, everyone processing what they just witnessed. Titan, the perfect K9, the unit's pride, had just attacked his handler. Wolf looked at his arm, then at Titan, and in his eyes was something that broke Titan's heart. Fear, his partner, his best friend, the person he'd trust with his life, was afraid of him. Kennel him, Wolf said quietly. Now. They dragged Titan away. He didn't resist anymore. The fight had gone out of him, because in that moment he understood. Something fundamental had changed. Something had broken, and he didn't know how to fix it. His kennel door slammed shut. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Final, condemning. Through the chain link, Titan watched Wolf being examined by Stratton, watched officers gathering, talking in low voices, pointing, looking at him with expressions he'd never seen directed at him before. Not respect, not trust, fear, suspicion, doubt. Within an hour, a sign appeared on his kennel, hastily written, officially damning, dangerous, do not approach. The words might as well have been a death sentence. By afternoon, word had spread through the entire department. Titan had attacked Wolf, put him on the ground, drew blood. The best K9 in the unit's history had turned violent, unpredictable, dangerous. Officers walked past his kennel, gave it wide berth, didn't make eye contact, whispered to each other, "Did you hear? I can't believe it." He was the best. What happened to him? Titan lay in the corner of his kennel, head on his paws, not pacing anymore, just still, watching the door, waiting for Wolf. But Wolf didn't come. Hours passed. The sun tracked across the sky. Other handlers came and went, fed their dogs, trained them, took them home. Wolf never appeared. That night, alone in the dark, Titan finally understood. He'd lost everything. His purpose, his partnership, his place, and he had no idea why. 3 days passed. 3 days of isolation, 3 days of silence, 3 days of Titan sitting in that kennel with the sign that labeled him dangerous. Watching handlers walk past without looking, hearing whispers that never quite reached his ears but carried meaning in their tone, feeling the weight of abandonment grow heavier with each passing hour. They tried to work with him, tried to fix what they thought was broken. Day 1, Senior Trainer Reynolds approached. Confident, experienced, 20 years handling K9S. He'd seen aggressive dogs before, thought he could handle one more banana. He opened the kennel door, took one step inside. Titan's reaction was immediate, not calculated, not trained. Pure instinct screaming that strangers meant danger now, that anyone who wasn't Wolf couldn't be trusted. He lunged forward, teeth bared, a warning, a boundary. Reynolds jerked back, slammed the door. Hostile, extremely hostile. Session over, 60 seconds from start to finish. Day 2, Dr. Ellen Stratton returned, this time with notebooks, behavioral assessment forms, a calm voice and practiced patience. She stood outside the kennel, spoke softly. "Hello, Titan. Remember me? We're going to work together. Help you feel better." Titan watched her, didn't move, but his body was tense, coiled, every muscle ready to react if she came closer. Stratton tried simple commands. "Sit." Nothing. "Down." Nothing. "Stay." He was already staying, had no choice, was trapped. She spent an hour talking, observing, taking notes. Titan spent that hour staring past her, toward the corridor, where Wolf's office was, where his partner existed but wouldn't come. Stratton's report was clinical, detached, severe behavioral regression, non-responsive to verbal commands, heightened stress indicators, prognosis uncertain. Day 3, they sent 2 trainers, both with the protective gear, padded suits, face shields, treating Titan like a wild animal instead of a decorated officer. They entered together, tried to leash him, tried to move him to an evaluation space. Titan resisted, not because he wanted to hurt them, because he didn't understand why everyone had become the enemy, why doing his job had led to this, why protection had become aggression in their eyes. He thrashed, barked, made himself bigger, more threatening, anything to make them leave him alone. They retreated, faster than Reynolds, more shaken than Stratton. "He's getting worse," one said. "Not better, worse." And that was the truth everyone started accepting. Titan wasn't improving. Each interaction escalated, each attempt failed. The perfect K9 was spiraling into something unrecognizable. On the 4th day the meeting started, Captain Russell Blackwood's office. Door closed, voices low but urgent. Titan couldn't hear the words from his kennel, but he could sense the weight of them. The finality. They were deciding his fate. Blackwood sat at the head of the table, 52 years old, gray at the temples, lines around his eyes from 2 decades of making hard decisions. He'd never wanted to make this one. Stratton presented her findings, charts, behavioral data, video footage of the failed interventions. "Gentlemen, in 15 years of K9 psychology, I've never encountered a regression this severe. Whatever happened in that warehouse triggered something we can't reverse." "How many attempts?" Blackwood asked. 7 total interventions. 3 different specialists, 0 positive response. An officer spoke up, hesitant. "He was one of our best, top certification scores, perfect record." Was another officer emphasized. Past tense. "That dog put Wolf on the ground, drew blood. We can't deploy him, can't trust him around civilians, can't even handle him safely here." Silence settled over the room, heavy, uncomfortable. "What about more time?" The first officer tried again. "Maybe we haven't found the right approach." "We've had a week," Blackwood said. His voice carried the weight of command, of responsibility. "And it's escalating, not stabilizing. Escalating." Stratton nodded. "Every interaction increases his stress response. We're not helping him. We're making it worse." The words no one wanted to say hung in the air, unspoken but understood. Blackwood rubbed his temples. "Prepare the paperwork. Temporary removal from duty. 10-day observation period. If there's no improvement by day 10, he didn't finish. Didn't need to." Everyone knew what came after day 10. The meeting adjourned. Officers filed out. Quiet, somber, like they just attended a funeral for someone still breathing. In his kennel, Titan sensed the shift. The way people looked at him changed, not with hope anymore, with resignation, with pity. He lay down, put his head on his paws, and for the first time since partnering with Wolf, he felt something he'd never experienced before. Hopelessness. But that afternoon, something changed. A new officer appeared, walking down the kennel corridor. Not purposefully, not officially, just passing through. Or that's what Edwin looked like. Officer Marcus Kane, 28 years old, patrol division, not K9 unit, no business being in this section of the facility. But he was there anyway. Kane walked slowly, hands in pockets, casual, like he was just exploring, killing time between shifts. His eyes scanned the kennels, the tees, the equipment, taking it all in. And then he stopped. Right in front of Titan's kennel, the sign caught his eye first. Dangerous. Do not approach. His eyebrows raised. Then he looked at the dog behind the chain link. Titan sat in the corner, still, watching, assessing this new human the way he assessed everything. Threat or not threat, danger or safe. Kane's scent reached Titan before any other information. And it was different. No fierce smell, no aggression chemical, just curiosity, interest, calm. So you're the famous Titan, Kane said quietly. Not to Titan, just out loud, processing, the one everyone's talking about. Titan didn't react, didn't bark, didn't lunge, just watched. Kane studied him, really looked. Not at the sign, not at the reputation, at the dog himself, at his posture, his eyes, his energy. You don't look crazy to me, Kane said. You look confused. Something in Kane's voice, something in his tone. It wasn't command, wasn't authority, was something Titan hadn't heard in days, understanding, or the possibility of it. Kane stayed there for 5 minutes, not talking, not moving, just being present. Then he walked away. But he came back the next morning, and the morning after that, always casual, always brief, never pushing, never demanding, just appearing, observing, then leaving. On day 5, since the incident, Kane did something different. He didn't just stop and look. He sat down, right there on the concrete floor, 10 feet from Titan's kennel. A handler walked past, stopped. Officer Kane, that dog's dangerous. You shouldn't be that close. Kane looked up, smiled, polite but dismissive. Noted. Thanks. The handler hesitated, then walked away, shaking his head. Kane settled against the wall, got comfortable, pulled out a thermos of coffee, like he planned to stay a while. Titan watched, curious despite himself. This human was behaving differently than all the others. No agenda, no pressure, just presence. Kane took a sip of coffee, started talking. Not to Titan specifically, just talking. My grandfather served in World War II, he said. Infantry, Europe, saw things no person should see. Did things that haunted him for 50 years. Titan's ears twitched, following the sound, the rhythm. When he came home, he wasn't the same. Everyone could see it. Shell shock, they called it back then. Now we say PTSD. Different words, same pain. Kane paused, drank more coffee. His family didn't understand, thought he was broken, thought he'd lost his mind. They had asked him what was wrong and he couldn't explain. How do you explain seeing things others didn't see, knowing things others didn't believe? The words settled in the space between them. Titan didn't understand language, but he understood tone, understood the emotion beneath the words, empathy, recognition. They almost gave up on him. Kane continued, almost sent him away, locked him up because that's what people do when they don't understand. They isolate, they abandon. Kane looked directly at Titan now. But one person believed him, my grandmother. She didn't understand what he'd been through, but she understood he'd been through something. And she stayed, listened, trusted that he had reasons for what he felt. Silence. He got better. Took years, but he did, because someone gave him time, gave him trust. Kane stood, stretched. See you tomorrow, Titan. And he left. Titan remained sitting, processing something about those words. That story felt familiar, felt like it was about more than some grandfather he'd never met. The next day, day 6, Kane returned. Same spot, same casual approach. This time he sat closer, 8 feet instead of 10. Morning, he said, like they were old friends. Sleep okay? Titan shifted his weight, not threatened, just aware. Kane didn't try to touch him, didn't extend a hand or make demands, just existed in proximity, reducing the distance incrementally, building trust through patience. I've been reading about K9 behavior, Kane said. Interesting stuff. Did you know dogs are hyper-vigilant by nature, always scanning, always assessing? It's what makes them great at the job. He unwrapped a protein bar, took a bite, but that same trait can work against them. When something traumatic happens, when they detect a threat and can't resolve it, that hypervigilance gets stuck, loops, becomes stress instead of awareness. Titan's breathing changed, slightly, like something in those words resonated. I watched the warehouse footage, Kane said. Casual, matter of fact. Saw how you reacted, how you kept pulling toward that east corridor. Titan's ears came forward, full attention now. Everyone thought you were confused, distracted, off your game. Kane crumpled the wrapper. But I don't think so. I think you detected something they didn't. And when they ignored you, it created a problem your brain couldn't solve. For the first time in 6 days, Titan stood up, moved closer to the front of the kennel, not aggressive, interested. Kane noticed, stayed calm, didn't react. Yeah, I think you had a reason. Whatever you were trying to tell them, it was real. To you. And that's what matters. He stood to leave. But before he went, he said something that changed everything. I'm going to talk to Captain Blackwood. Ask permission to work with you. Properly. No pressure. No expectations. Just you and me. Figuring this out together. Kane walked away. Titan watched him go. And for the first time since everything fell apart, something stirred in his chest. Not hope. Not yet. But the possibility of it. That afternoon, Kane found Captain Blackwood in his office. Knocked, entered when called. Sir, I'd like to request permission to work with Titan. Blackwood looked up from his paperwork. Studied Kane. You're not K9 Division. No, sir. You're not trained for behavioral rehabilitation. No, sir. 3 experienced trainers have tried, all failed. What makes you think you'll succeed? Kane met his eyes. Because I'm not trying to fix him, sir. I'm trying to understand him. Blackwood leaned back in his chair. That dog attacked a handler, put him on the ground, drew blood. After detecting a potential threat everyone else missed, after trying to alert his team and being overridden, after completing a mission that left him with unresolved stress. You're defending him. I'm offering context, sir. There's a difference between aggression and trauma response. Blackwood was quiet for a long moment. Then, you understand the risk. If he turns on you, it's on you. The department won't be liable. I'll sign whatever waiver you need. 1 session, tomorrow. If I see any indication he's dangerous, we're done. Clear. Crystal, sir. And Kane, this doesn't change the timeline. 10 days, that's all he's got. Kane nodded. Understood. Day 7 arrived. Training yard, early morning. Word had spread. Officers lined the fence. Watching, skeptical, curious, waiting to see the patrol cop who thought he could tame the unit's fallen star. 2 handlers led Titan out. Heavy lead, firm grip, treating him like he might explode at any moment. Kane stood alone in the center of the yard. No protective gear, no weapons, just his uniform and an expression of calm confidence. Blackwood stood nearby, arms crossed, ready to shut this down at the first sign of trouble. The handlers brought Titan to the 20-foot marker, released the lead, stepped back quickly. Everyone tensed. Titan saw Kane, standing there, still, calm. The human who'd sat outside his kennel, who'd talked about grandfathers and trauma and understanding. But training and instinct collided because this was the yard, where everything went wrong, where the sound happened, where Wolf fell, where fear replaced trust. Titan lunged, Full speed, barking, all the aggression and fear and confusion of the past week channeled into pure forward momentum. Officers shouted, hands went to sidearms, ready to intervene. But Kane didn't move, didn't step back, didn't raise his hands defensively, didn't give commands. He knelt down, right there, made himself smaller, less threatening, removed the confrontational element. Titan stopped, 10 feet away, still barking, still aggressive. But something in his brain stuttered, paused, because this wasn't the pattern. Threats didn't make themselves smaller, didn't submit. What was happening? Kane's eyes met Titan's. Steady, no fear, no anger, just presence. It's okay, Kane said, quiet, barely audible over Titan's barking. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to listen. Titan's barking decreased, not stopped, but less intense, less certain. Kane slowly extended one hand, palm down, non-threatening, an offering, not a demand. No rush, Kane said. This is your choice. The yard held its breath. 60 people watching one man and one dog navigate something invisible, something crucial. Titan took a step forward. Just one. Testing. His barking stopped, replaced by a low growl. Warning. I'm still dangerous, still capable. But the energy had shifted from attack to assessment. Kane didn't move. Let Titan control the approach, the distance, the interaction. Another step. Titan was 8 feet away now, close enough to smell Kane properly, to read his body language, to sense his intent. No fear smell, no threat chemicals, just calm, steady, patient. Titan's growl softened. His ears shifted from pinned back to cautiously forward. Kane waited. One more step. 6 feet. Titan stopped, sat, not because he was commanded, because he chose to. Made eye contact with Kane, held it, searching for something, finding not answers but acknowledgement. This human sees me, really sees me. Not the label, not the reputation. Me. The moment stretched. 5 seconds. 10. 20. Then Kane stood, slowly, careful not to make sudden movements. Good, he said, simply. That's good, we're done for today. He turned, walked away, didn't look back, leaving Titan sitting there. Confused but not threatened. Alert but not aggressive. The handlers approached cautiously, leashed him, led him back to the kennel. As they passed Kane, one muttered, "You got lucky." Kane smiled. Maybe. Or maybe he's not what everyone thinks he is. Blackwood approached. I'll give you this. That was different. But different doesn't mean fixed. No, sir. But it's a start. You've got 9 days left. Use them wisely. That night, Kane couldn't sleep. His mind kept replaying the warehouse footage. Something about it bothered him, nagged at him, a detail everyone else had dismissed. He got up, 2 a.m., drove back to the station, used his credentials to access the evidence room, pulled the warehouse file, mission reports, witness statements, body camera footage, started reading carefully, line by line. Wolf's report, K9, exhibited unusual behavior, became uncontrollable, mission compromised due to handler inability to maintain command authority. Other officers' reports, similar language, blaming the dog, citing his distraction as the reason the suspect escaped. But then, a single line, buried in the supplemental notes. Unconfirmed second movement detected east quarter. Visual identification unsuccessful. Kane sat back, stared at that line. Second movement, not confirmed, not investigated, just noted and dismissed. He pulled up the body camera footage. Wolf's camera, the one worn during the warehouse entry, played it, watched the team move through the dark building, saw the moment the suspect fled, the chaos of the pursuit, rewound, played again, slower this time. There, At timestamp 23:47 and 15 seconds. A shadow, moving across the frame, left to right, behind a stack of crates, separate from the running suspect. Different trajectory, different speed. Kane froze the frame, enhanced it. The quality was poor, grainy, but the shape was undeniable. A person, a second person, in the warehouse when they thought there was only one. He checked Titan's reaction timeline. The moment the dog started pulling toward the east quarter, 3 seconds before the main suspect bolted, 3 seconds before anyone else knew there was movement, Titan had detected the second person, the one no one else saw, the one who disappeared while the team chased the obvious threat. Kane's heart rate increased. He pulled the security logs, access records for the warehouse building. The night of the incident logged entry at 11:50 p.m. Police response, cleared and locked at 2:15 a.m. But then, 2 days later, another entry, 3:20 a.m. No police activity logged. Someone had come back, someone who had a key or who knew how to bypass the locks. The case had been closed, filed as suspect escape, no apprehension, K9 performance issues. But it shouldn't have been closed because there had been 2 suspects, and one of them was still out there. Kane sat in the evidence room until dawn, building a timeline, connecting pieces, understanding what Titan had tried to tell them. The dog hadn't malfunctioned. He'd done his job, detected a threat, tried to alert his team, and when they ignored him, when they overrode his instincts, when they blamed him for their failure to listen, it created a cognitive dissonance his mind couldn't process. He'd been punished for being right. Day 8, Kane requested a meeting with Blackwood and Stratton, laid out his findings, showed the footage, the shadow, the timeline, the security logs. There was a second suspect, Kane said. Titan detected him, tried to track him. We pulled him away. Blackwood frowned. This was reviewed. Nothing conclusive was found. Because everyone assumed the dog was wrong, nobody looked at it from the perspective that he might be right. Stratton leaned forward, interested despite herself. You're suggesting his behavioral breakdown was caused by unresolved threat detection. I'm saying he did his job. And when his handler didn't trust him, it violated his core programming. Protect and serve. He tried to protect. We told him he was wrong. That's a theory, Blackwood said, not proof. Then let me test it. Bring Wolf to the kennel. Let's see how Titan reacts now versus a week ago. Stratton nodded slowly. Controlled reintroduction to the source of trauma. It could provide diagnostic insight. Blackwood considered. Wolf's been on leave, medical and psychological. I don't know if he's ready. He needs to be there, Kane pressed, for both of them. An hour later, Garrett Wolf stood outside the K9 facility, first time back since the incident. His arm was bandaged, healing. The physical wound wasn't serious. The psychological one ran deeper. He'd requested the leave himself, couldn't face coming back, couldn't face seeing Titan, couldn't reconcile the partner he'd trusted with the animal who'd attacked him. But Kane had called, said it was important, said it might help both of them. So here he was. They walked to the kennel together. Wolf, Kane, Stratton, Blackwood. Titan was lying down, head on paws. But when Wolf appeared, he lifted his head. Immediately, recognition flashed in his eyes. Wolf, his partner, the person he'd protected, the person he'd accidentally hurt, the person who'd abandoned him. Wolf approached the kennel slowly. His hand shook. Hey, buddy, it's me. Titan stood, moved to the back of the kennel, away, not aggressive, defensive. Wolf's face fell. He's afraid of me. He's hurt, Kane corrected. There's a difference. Wolf looked at Kane. What? You didn't trust him? In the warehouse. When he tried to alert you to a second threat, you overrode him. And then when the stress from that unresolved situation manifested, you left. He attacked me. He tried to protect you from a threat his brain was still processing, a threat you told him didn't exist. The words hit Wolf like physical blows. His face paled. "What are you saying?" Kane explained. "The footage, the second suspect, the timeline, everything Titan had tried to communicate that no one understood." Wolf sank against the wall. "Oh God, he was right. He was right, and I didn't listen." Titan watched from the back of the kennel, reading body language, sensing Wolf's distress. Wolf approached the chain link, knelt. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, boy. I should have trusted you." Titan didn't move, torn between the bond they'd had and the abandonment he'd experienced. Kane spoke quietly. "He's not angry at you. He's disappointed. There's a difference." Wolf's eyes filled. He pressed his hand against the chain link. "Please, I was wrong. I know that now. Please." Seconds passed, long, heavy, then Titan moved, slowly, cautiously, approached the front of the kennel, stopped just out of reach, sat, looked at Wolf's outstretched hand, made a choice. He pressed his paw against the chain link on the other side of Wolf's hand, not quite touching, but acknowledging. Wolf broke down, tears running freely. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Titan held the position, offering forgiveness without words, accepting apology without guarantee, because that's what partners did, even when it hurt. Stratton watched the interaction, made notes. Remarkable. His stress response decreased significantly when the source of conflict acknowledged the misunderstanding. Blackwood's expression softened. "So what now?" Kane straightened. "Now we give him purpose again. Show him he's still trusted, still valued." As if on cue, an officer burst into the kennel area. "Captain, we've got an emergency. Missing child, 8-year-old boy. Last seen near the woods off Clarkson Road. Search teams mobilizing now." Blackwood's jaw tightened. "Get all available K9 units." "Sir, with Titan benched, we only have 2 units available. Both are already deployed on other calls." Silence fell, heavy with implication. Kane looked at Blackwood. "He's ready. That's a child's life you're betting on." "I'm betting on a dog who's been right when everyone else was wrong." Wolf stood. "I'll back Kane. It's my call as Titan's handler. If anyone's taking the risk, it's me." Blackwood looked at each of them, then at Titan, the dog who'd once been their best, who might still be. "You've got one shot tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. deployment, but Kane leads, Wolf supports." Kane nodded. "Understood. And if this goes wrong, if that dog endangers anyone, I'm ending this. Permanently. Clear. Crystal, sir." That night, Kane stayed at the facility, spent the hours outside Titan's kennel, talking to him, preparing him. "Tomorrow matters," he said quietly. "Not because of what they think, because of what you know. You're not broken. You never were. They just needed time to understand." Titan listened, absorbed the tone, if not the words. "There's a child missing, a boy named Liam Bennett, 8 years old, scared, alone, and he needs you." Kane reached through the chain link, slowly, offering his hand. Titan approached, sniffed it, then for the first time since the incident, he allowed human contact. Rested his head against Kane's palm. The trust wasn't complete, wasn't healed, but it was there. Fragile, growing. "Tomorrow we show them what you really are," Kane whispered. "Not dangerous, not broken. A hero who never stopped being one." Titan's eyes closed. For the first time in 8 days, his body relaxed. Truly relaxed. Because someone finally understood. Someone finally listened. Someone finally believed. And tomorrow he'd prove they were right to. Dawn broke cold over Detroit. The kind of autumn morning where breath turns to fog and frost clings to metal surfaces. 6 a.m. The parking lot of the K9 facility filled with vehicles. Search and rescue teams mobilizing. Officers checking gear, radios crackling with coordinates and updates. And in the center of it all, Titan stood beside Marcus Kane, being fitted with his K9 vest for the first time in 10 days. The vest settled onto his back like coming home. Familiar weight, familiar purpose. The Velcro closure sounded crisp in the quiet morning air. Official, real. Titan's posture changed the moment it was secured. Shoulders back, head high, eyes sharp. The confusion and fear of the past 10 days didn't disappear, but they moved to the background because duty called, and duty was the one thing that had never abandoned him. Garrett Wolf stood nearby, watching, his arm still bandaged but healing, his guilt still raw but acknowledged. He wasn't lead on this mission. Kane was. But Wolf had insisted on being present, on supporting, on being there if Titan needed him, because that's what partners did. Even when roles shifted, even when trust was being rebuilt from rubble. Captain Blackwood approached, his face grave. The boy's name is Liam Bennett, 8 years old, last seen yesterday at 4 p.m. at Riverside Park Playground. Parents thought he was with friends. Friends thought he was with parents. By the time anyone realized it was dark, he pulled up a photo on his tablet. A young boy, red hair, freckles, gap-toothed smile. The kind of kid who should be worried about homework and baseball, not survival. Search area is 500 acres of woodland, uneven terrain, multiple trail systems. We've got 3 teams deployed. Titans with Team Alpha, your northeast quadrant. Kane nodded, knelt beside Titan, showed him Liam's jacket, the scent item. This is who we're looking for, boy. This is who needs us. Titan pressed his nose to the fabric, inhaled deeply, cataloging, young male, fear scent old now faded, playground dirt, grass stains, something sweet candy residue. And underneath it all, the unique chemical signature that made this child different from every other human on Earth. The scent locked into Titan's memory, permanent, unforgettable. Kane clipped the tactical lead, track. The single word was permission, purpose, redemption. Titan's body shifted into working mode, nose down, breathing changed, rapid, focused. Each inhale was analysis. Each exhale eliminated possibilities. The team moved out. 3 vehicles, 12 officers, but only one tracker, one nose that could find what eyes couldn't see. They drove to the search perimeter. Parked at the northern trailhead, the woods stretched before them. Dense, dark even in daylight. The kind of place where a small child could disappear in minutes. Could be 20 feet away and invisible. Other teams reported in over radio. West sector negative, south quadrant clear. No visual contact. The pressure mounted with each negative report. Time mattered. The boy had been missing 14 hours. Temperature had dropped to 40 degrees overnight. A child Liam's size with no coat, no preparation. Hypothermia was probable. Death was possible. Kane looked at Titan. It's on you now. Show us the way. Titan didn't need encouragement. His nose had already found the trail. Faint, old, but there, leading into the woods. Northeast. He pulled forward, confident, certain. The team followed. The terrain was brutal. Roots snaking across the path, rocks hidden under fallen leaves, low branches that caught clothing and skin. Titan navigated it effortlessly. 4 legs, low center of gravity, built for this. The human struggled to keep pace. He's moving fast, an officer panted. You sure he's got something? He's got it, Kane said, no doubt in his voice. Stay with him. They crossed a stream, shallow but cold. Titan plunged through without hesitation. Checked the opposite bank. Found the scent again. Continued. Wolf watched from the back of the group, saw how Titan moved, the old confidence returning, the precision, the focus. This was the dog he remembered, the partner he'd trusted for 3 years. And he'd almost let them destroy him, almost let fear and misunderstanding erase something irreplaceable. Never again, he promised himself. Never again. 2 hours into the search, they were 3 miles deep. Radio communication was spotty, tree cover blocking signals. The other teams were miles away, searching different sectors, different theories. But Titan never wavered, never second-guessed. Just followed his nose. Followed the story written in molecules and chemical traces invisible to human senses. Then he stopped, sudden, complete, in the middle of a small clearing. Kane halted the team with a raised hand. Hold. Titan's head turned. Slight movement. Maybe 15 degrees. His nose worked the air. Sampling, analyzing. Something had changed. The trail split. Or rather, the scent separated. The primary trail, Liam, continued northeast, fading. Hours old. But there was another scent here. Fresher. Adult male. Chemical traces. Artificial fibers. And something else. Something wrong. Titan's body language shifted. The confident tracking posture tensed, became alert, wary. Kane saw it immediately. What is it? Titan looked at Kane, then northeast, then back at Kane, communicating the only way he could, through stance, through attention, through trust that Kane would understand what Wolf hadn't. There's something else here. Not just the boy. Something wrong. Kane made a decision. We continue on the boy's trail, but stay alert. Titan's picking up something. They moved northeast, following Liam's scent. But Titan's awareness had split, tracking the child, monitoring the other presence. The wrong presence. Mile 4, the terrain changed, became rougher. A ravine cut through the landscape. 20 feet deep, rocky sides, dangerous. Titan stopped at the edge, looked down, whined. The first vocalization he had made all search. Kane approached carefully. The drop was steep, unstable. But at the bottom, partially obscured by a fallen log and dense brush, was a small shape. Blue jacket, red hair. I've got visual, Kane radioed. Target located. Repeat, target located. Northeast ravine coordinates. He read off the GPS. The team prepared rappelling gear. This wasn't a simple descent. This was technical, dangerous, but necessary. Kane went first, secured the rope, descended carefully, his boots finding purchase on loose rock. Halfway down, 3/4, then solid ground. He moved to the log. Behind it, curled in a ball, was Liam Bennett, unconscious, lips blue, skin pale, hypothermia symptoms clear and advanced, but breathing, shallow, weak, but breathing. He's alive, King called up. Get medical down here now. The team moved fast. A medic descended, started assessment, warming blankets, checking vitals, working to stabilize. Above at the ravine edge, Titan watched. His job was done. He'd found the child, completed the mission. But something still bothered him. That other scent, the wrong one. It was closer now, moving, watching. Below, the medic worked quickly. Heart rate weak but steady, breathing shallow, core temperature dangerously low. We need to get him out of here, fast. A helicopter was already en route. Medical evacuation, the fastest way to get Liam to treatment, to save his life. The team rigged a basket stretcher, lifted Liam carefully, started the extraction process. Radio crackled. Medevac ETA 5 minutes. Prepare landing zone. Officers scrambled, clearing the area, setting markers, creating space for the helicopter to land safely. In all the organized chaos, the focused activity, no one noticed Titan's posture change, except Kane. He just climbed back up the ravine, reached the top, saw Titan, body rigid, ears pinned back, staring into the tree line, the exact same stance from the warehouse, the exact same energy. Kane's stomach dropped. Wolf, get over here! Wolf pushed through the group, saw Titan. Recognition flashed in his eyes. Oh God, Not again. But this time was different. This time they listened. What does he see? Kane scanned the trees, 50 yards out, dense undergrowth, shadows, then movement, a figure standing partially concealed, watching the scene. Adult male, 40-ish, outdoor clothing, backpack, too well equipped for a casual hiker, too focused for someone lost. Hey, Kane called out, this is an active rescue operation. Identify yourself. The figure didn't respond, didn't move toward them, just watched. Titan's growl was low, controlled, a warning, the same warning he'd given in the warehouse, the one no one had heeded. Police step out where we can see you. Wolf's hand moved to his sidearm. The figure turned, started moving away, not walking, moving with purpose, escaping. Stop, Kane started forward. The man ran. Go. Wolf reached for Titan's lead, released it. Track. And just like that, everything that had been broken was whole again. The trust, the partnership, the understanding. Titan bolted. Full pursuit mode, 4 years of training, 3 years with Wolf. 10 days of doubt, all of it compressed into pure focused purpose. The team followed, but they were slow, human slow, crashing through brush, dodging trees. Titan was fast, predator fast, German Shepherd bred for exactly this. Running down threats, protecting his pack. The suspect was athletic, knew the terrain, but Titan had something the man didn't. 4 legs, lower center of gravity, and motivation that transcended fear. 40 yards, 30, 20. The suspect glanced back, saw Titan closing. Panic flashed across his face. He tried to cut left, around a thick stand of trees, but Titan anticipated, adjusted, cut the angle, 15 yards, 10. The suspect's foot caught a root, stumbled, recovered but lost precious seconds. Titan closed the distance, 5 yards, 3, but he didn't attack, didn't bite, didn't use the force he was capable of, because he'd learned, in the worst way possible, that protection could be mistaken for aggression, that doing his job could be misunderstood. Instead, he circled, positioned himself between the suspect and escape, barked, loud, sharp, aggressive enough to freeze the man in place, controlled enough to be professional, holding position, containing threat, letting the team handle the rest. Kane and Wolf crashed through the brush, weapons drawn. Hands up now, the suspect raised his hands, breathing hard, trapped. I wasn't doing anything, I was just watching. On the ground, face down. The man complied. Kane moved in, cuffed him, patted him down, and froze. Wolf, call it in. We need detectives here. Now. What is it? Kane pulled a burner phone from the man's pocket, opened it, photos, dozens of them. The playground where Liam was last seen. Different angles, different times, different children. Wolf's face went white. Oh my God. Kane kept searching, found a map, folded, well used, the woods, multiple trails marked, including the ravine where they'd found Liam, found chloroform, zip ties, duct tape. This wasn't coincidence, wasn't a hiker who happened to be in the wrong place. This was predation, planning, intent. Who are you? Kane demanded. The suspect said nothing, just stared at the ground. Wolf was already on the radio. We need FBI, Child Crimes Unit, now. Within the hour, the woods were swarming with federal agents. The suspect was identified. Brian Novak, 42, no fixed address, and when they ran his information, the hits came back like hammer blows. Wanted in connection with 6 unsolved child abduction cases, 3 states, 7 years. The warehouse. The security footage Kane had reviewed. The timestamp from 2 days after Titan's incident. They pulled Novak's photo, ran it against the warehouse cameras. Match. Brian Novak had been in that warehouse, the night of Titan's mission, the second presence, the threat Titan had detected, the danger everyone had dismissed. He'd been using the warehouse as a staging area, planning, preparing. And when police showed up, he'd hidden, watched, waited for them to leave. Then come back 2 days later, retrieved whatever he'd stashed there, and Titan had known, had tried to warn them, had tried to alert his team that there was a second more dangerous threat, but no one had listened. Until now. Captain Blackwood arrived on scene as they were loading Novak into a federal transport. He looked at the suspect, then at Kane, then at Titan, knelt beside the dog, looked him in the eyes. "You were right," Blackwood said quietly. "You were right all along, and we failed you. I failed you." Titan sat calmly, professionally, no grudge, no resentment, just acceptance. Blackwood stood, addressed the assembled officers. "Let me be clear about what happened here. 10 days ago, this dog detected a child predator, tried to alert his team, was overridden. And when the stress of that unresolved situation manifested, we blamed him, called him dangerous, nearly destroyed him." Officers shifted uncomfortably, the weight of collective failure settling on shoulders. Today he found a missing child, saved that child's life, and then detected the same predator. The one we missed, the one we told him didn't exist. Blackwood's voice hardened. "We owe Titan more than an apology. We owe him our trust, our respect, and our commitment to never doubt him again." He looked at Kane. "Effective immediately, full reinstatement. All disciplinary records expunged, and I'm recommending him for the Medal of Valor." Applause broke out among the officers. Genuine, heartfelt, recognition of something they had almost lost. Kane knelt beside Titan. "You did it, boy. You showed them." But Titan wasn't looking at Kane, was looking past him, at Wolf, his original partner. The one who'd doubted, who'd left, who'd come back. Wolf approached slowly, knelt, faced his partner. "I broke the first rule," Wolf said, voice thick with emotion. "Trust your dome, trust your partner." "I didn't, and I'm sorry." Titan held his gaze, then leaned forward, pressed his head against Wolf's chest. Forgiveness, wordless but absolute. Wolf wrapped his arms around Titan, held him. "I'll never doubt you again, never." Kane stood, gave them space. This moment belonged to them. Blackwood approached Kane. "I misjudged you too. Thought you were a patrol cop playing hero. Turns out you were the only one paying attention." "With respect, sir, I was just listening. Something everyone could have done. But didn't. That makes the difference." Blackwood paused. "How would you feel about transferring to K9 unit officially? We need people who understand these dogs aren't just tools. They're partners." Kane looked at Titan, at Wolf, at the bond being rebuilt. "Thank you, sir, but Titan belongs with Wolf. I just helped translate. That partnership is worth preserving." "What about a compromise, dual handlers? You work together, learn from each other." Kane extended his hand to Wolf. "What do you say?" Wolf shook it, firm, grateful. "I'd be honored." And just like that, the team expanded, from broken to rebuilt to stronger than before. The news broke that evening. National coverage. Hero K9 saves missing child, catches serial predator. But the real story was buried in the details. The redemption arc. The dog declared dangerous who proved he had been right all along. 2 weeks later, the ceremony was held. Full department attendance. Mayor present. Press invited. Liam Bennett and his parents in the front row. Titan stood at attention, vest polished, bearing proud, flanked by Wolf on one side, Kane on the other. Captain Blackwood read the citation. "For exceptional service, for unwavering duty, for saving a life and preventing countless future tragedies. The Detroit Metro Police Department awards Titan the Medal of Valor." The medal was placed on Titan's vest, rare honor for a K9. recognition that transcended species. The crowd stood, applauded, but Titan didn't react to the noise, didn't understand medals or ceremonies. He understood the boy, Liam, who approached now with his parents. The 8-year-old that was healthy by recovered, smiling that gap-toothed smile from the photo. He knelt in front of Titan. "Thank you for finding me. My mom says you're a hero." Titan sat, patient, gentle, let the small human hug him, felt the gratitude radiating from the child's parents. The tears, the relief, this was what mattered. Not medals, not recognition, purpose, service, making a difference. Liam's mother spoke at the podium. "10 days ago, you almost gave up on Titan. Today, I'm standing here with my son because you didn't, because one officer believed, and because this remarkable dog never stopped being what he was trained to be, a guardian, a protector, a hero." Her voice broke. "Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you." The ceremony ended, but the impact lingered. The department implemented new protocols, K-9 behavioral assessments, handler training on recognizing stress versus aggression, communication between dog and human. Titan's case became a teaching moment, used in academies nationwide, an example of what happens when instinct is dismissed and what happens when it's trusted. 3 months later, life had found a new rhythm. Titan worked with both Wolf and Kane. The partnership dynamic was unique but effective. Wolf provided the history, the deep bond. Kane provided the interpretation, the understanding. Together, they were unstoppable. Mission record: 78 successful operations, 0 failures. Titan's statistics had not just recovered, they had exceeded, but numbers didn't tell the whole story. Liam Bennett visited monthly. His parents brought him to the station, let him spend time with Titan. The bond between saved and savior growing with each visit. "When I grow up, I want to be a police officer," Liam told Kane one afternoon, "like you and Officer Wolf, so I can work with dogs like Titan." Kane smiled. He'd like that. One evening after a long shift, Wolf sat in the kennel area, alone with Titan, brushing his coat, the quiet ritual that had defined their partnership. "You know what you taught me," Wolf said softly. "It's not about control. It's about trust. I spent 3 years thinking I was in charge, that you followed because I commanded." He paused, met Titan's eyes. "But that's not it. You followed because you trusted me. And the moment I stopped trusting you, everything fell apart." Titan's tail moved slightly. Acknowledgement. "I won't make that mistake again. Whatever you tell me, whatever you detect, I believe you. Always." A promise, sealed not with words but with understanding. The radio on Wolf's belt crackled. All units, missing person, elderly male, dementia patient, last seen near Lincoln Park, K-9 assistance requested. Wolf stood, clipped Titan's lead. Ready to work, Titan was on his feet immediately. Alert, focused, ready. They walked out together, partner in partner, trust restored, purpose clear. The parking lot was busy, officers mobilizing. But Wolf paused, looked down at his dog. "Before we go, I need you to know something. When they wanted to give up on you, when everyone said you were broken, you never stopped being who you are. You never lost faith in yourself." His voice caught. "You're a better partner than I deserve, but I'm going to spend every day trying to be worthy of you." Titan looked up at him, connection flowing both ways, unspoken but understood. Then they loaded into the K-9 unit, drove into the night, toward another mission, another person who needed finding, another chance to serve, because that's what they did, what they'd always done, what they'd always do. 6 months after the ceremony, Captain Blackwood called Wolf and Kane into his office. "Sit down, both of you." They sat. Titan lay between them, calm, professional. Blackwood pulled out a file. FBI letterhead. Brian Novak was convicted yesterday. 7 counts, attempted abduction, conspiracy, related charges, sentenced to 45 years, no parole. He looked at Titan. The investigation revealed he'd been planning operations across 3 states, had detailed files on dozens of potential victims. The warehouse was one of multiple staging areas. Blackwood leaned back. The FBI estimates that by catching him when we did, we prevented at least 12 abductions, maybe more. The weight of that settled over the room. 12 children, 12 families, spared the nightmare that the Bennetts had lived through, all because a dog had detected something no one else could see, and eventually someone had listened. There's more, Blackwood continued. Based on Titan's case, the International K9 Working Group has revised their behavioral assessment protocols. They're calling it the Titan Standard, recognizing that what looks like aggression might be unresolved stress from legitimate threat detection. Kane felt pride swell, not for himself, for the bone lying calmly on the floor. Who'd endured doubt, fear, isolation, and never stopped being exactly who he was? You should both be proud, Blackwood said. You saved more than one life. You changed how we understand these animals, these partners. Wolf reached down, rested his hand on Titan's head. He did the saving. We just finally learned to listen. The K9 training facility. 1 year after the incident, new recruits gathered in the lecture hall. The instructor stood at the front, pulled up a video, warehouse footage. The moment Titan tried to alert his team, the moment they overrode him. This, the instructor said, is what failure looks like. Not the dog's failure, ours. He played the next video. The rescue, Titan finding Liam, detecting Novak, completing the mission everyone thought he couldn't. And this is what success looks like. When we trust the dog, when we believe they were trying to tell us something important. A recruit raised his hand. What happened to Titan? Is he still working? The instructor smiled. See for yourself. He gestured to the back of the room. The door opened. Wolf entered, Titan at his side. The dog moved with confidence. Pride, purpose. The recruit stood, applauded. Recognition of a living legend. Titan took it in stride. This was just another room, another group of humans, nothing to react to. The instructor approached, knelt beside Titan. This is your standard. This is what K9 partnership looks like when it's right. Learn from him, learn from his handlers, and never ever dismiss what your dog is trying to tell you. Titan sat, patient, as Wolf explained their story, the fall, the understanding, the redemption, and when the lecture ended, when the recruits filed out. One young officer lingered, fresh from the academy, nervous, uncertain. Sir, can I ask you something? Wolf nodded. Of course. When everyone doubted him, when they said he was dangerous, how did you know he wasn't? Wolf looked at Kane, then at Titan. I didn't. Not at first. I let fear override 3 years of trust. That was my failure. He knelt, met his partner's eyes, but he never stopped knowing who he was, never stopped being loyal, even when I didn't deserve it. That's the difference between humans and dogs. We doubt, they don't. The young officer nodded, learning, understanding. Remember that, Kane added, when your dog tells you something, they were not guessing. They're not wrong. They're giving you information you can't access any other way. Your job is to trust that, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. The officer thanked them, left. Wolf, Kane, and Titan remained. You think they'll remember? Wolf asked. Some will, some won't. Human nature. Kane shrugged. But at least now, the system supports the dogs. That's progress. They walked out together. Into the afternoon sun, the city spread before them, full of people, problems, potential. The radio called. K9 unit available. Wolf keyed the mic. This is K97, available and ready. Suspicious package, downtown library, needs sweep before building reopens. En route. They loaded up, drove through familiar streets, Titan in the back, alert, watching the world pass, reading it the way only he could. At the library, they worked methodically. Titan cleared room after room, his nose the ultimate detector, his instincts the final word. All clear, no threats, building safe. Another successful mission, another day of service, another purpose fulfilled. As they packed up, the library director approached. Older woman, grateful. Thank you. People were scared. You made them feel safe again. Wolf smiled. That's what we're here for. She looked at Titan. Is this the dog, the one from the news? That's him. My grandson wants to meet him. Says Titan's his hero. Bring him by the station sometime. Titan's always happy to meet his fans. The woman left. Wolf looked at his partner. You hear that? You've got fans? Titan's tail wagged once. Not pride, just acknowledgement. They drove back to the station. The sun setting, another shift ending, another day completed. In the kennel that night, as Wolf prepared to leave, he paused. You know what I realized that week when everything fell apart? When they wanted to give up on you. I thought it was the worst thing that could happen. He sat on the bench outside the kennel. Titan lay near the door, listening. But it wasn't. It was the best thing, because it forced us to understand what we had, what partnership really means, not just following commands, but trusting each other, even when we can't explain why. Wolf stood. Sleep well, boy. Tomorrow we do it again. He started to walk away, then stopped, turned back. One more thing. I love you. Just needed you to know that. Titan's eyes tracked him, understanding in his own one, feeling in the way dogs feel. Absolute, uncomplicated. Love returned, always, 2 years after the incident. Titan was 6 years old now, still in prime condition, still the unit's best. But Wolf was thinking about the future, about what came next, about legacy. He sat with Kane in the break room, coffee cooling, conversation flowing. I've been thinking about retirement, Wolf said. Not now, but eventually, 5 years maybe. Kane nodded. Makes sense. What about Titan? That's what I'm thinking about. When I go, he goes. That's always been the plan. Retire together, he deserves peace after years of service. He's got years left in him. I know, but I want them to be good years, not just working until he can't anymore. Kane understood. What will you do, both of you? Wolf smiled. I've got property up north. Couple acres, woods, river. Thought maybe we'd spend our days walking trails, swimming, just being. Sounds perfect. What about you? You staying in K9? Kane looked toward the kennel area. Yeah, this is where I belong. Helping handlers understand their dogs. Making sure what happened to Titan doesn't happen to others. Good. The department needs that. They sat in comfortable silence. Two men, different paths, same purpose. But that was years away. For now, there was work to do. The present day, Titan and Wolf on patrol, routine sector sweep, nothing urgent, just presence. Community policing. They stopped at a school, elementary, recess in full swing, children playing, laughing, living the childhood Liam Bennett had almost lost. A teacher approached. Officer Wolf, would Titan be willing to meet the kids? We're doing a unit on community helpers. Wolf looked at his partner. What do you say, boy? Up for some PR. They spent 30 minutes with the children. Titan patient, gentle, letting small hands pet him, demonstrating commands, being the friendly face of law enforcement. A little girl raised her hand. Is he scared of bad guys? Wolf knelt to her level. Titan isn't scared of anything, but he's not mean either. He's brave. He protects people who can't protect themselves. Like a superhero, Wolf smiled. Exactly like a superhero. The girl hugged Titan. You're my favorite superhero. As they left the school, Wolf's radio crackled, but not with a call, with Blackwood's voice. All units, effective immediately, K-97 is cleared for end of shift. Return to station. Wolf frowned, keyed the mic. Sir, everything okay? Just get back here. They drove in, confused. It wasn't end of shift. They had 4 hours left. The parking lot was full, more vehicles than normal, officers standing outside, waiting. Wolf parked. He and Titan exited, approached the building. The doors open. The entire department was inside, lined up, at attention, and at the front, Captain Blackwood, holding a frame. Officer Wolf, Titan, front and center. They approached, confused, uncertain. Blackwood's face was solemn, but his eyes warm. 2 years ago today, Titan was cleared of all charges, reinstated to active duty. In those 2 years, he's completed 112 missions, saved 14 lives, and changed how police departments across this nation view K-9 behavioral health. He held up the frame. Inside was a photo, Titan and Liam, from the ceremony, the moment of connection between saved and savior. Below it, an inscription, in recognition of extraordinary service, in celebration of unwavering loyalty, in honor of the partnership that reminded us all what it means to truly listen. Titan, hero, partner, legend. The room erupted in applause. Officers, staff, everyone who'd witnessed the journey from fall to redemption. But Titan didn't care about applause, about recognition, about legend status. He cared about the hand on his head. Wolf's hand, steady, proud, loving. He cared about Kane standing nearby, the man who'd listened when no one else would. He cared about the boy who visited monthly, growing, thriving, living the life Titan had saved. That was enough. That was everything. That evening, as the sun set over Detroit, Wolf and Titan sat on the bench outside the kennels. Their bench, their spot. You know what you taught me, Wolf said quietly. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent, about believing in yourself even when no one else does. Titan's head rested against Wolf's leg, content. You never gave up, never stopped being who you were, even when the world told you that you were wrong. Wolf's voice caught. I'm proud to be your partner, honored to be your friend. The radio remained silent, the city peaceful. For this moment, at least, all was well. Wolf looked at his partner, the dog who'd been called dangerous, who'd been feared, who'd been misunderstood, and who'd proven beyond any doubt that sometimes the ones we fear the most aren't broken at all. They're just waiting for someone brave enough to listen. 5 years later, northern Michigan, September morning, the air carried that particular crispness that only comes when summer releases its grip and autumn takes hold. Garrett Wolf stood on the porch of his cabin, looking out over 2 acres of pine forest, a river running through the eastern edge of the property. Everything quiet except for the wind moving through the trees and the water moving over stones. Retired now, 40 years old, feeling younger than he had in years. At his feet, Titan, 11 years old, gray around the muzzle, moving slower than he once did, but eyes still sharp, still aware, still Titan. They'd made the move 6 months ago, left Detroit together, left the department, left the work that had defined them both, but not the bond, never the bond. Wolf threw a stick, not for training, not for duty, just for play. Titan watched it arc through the air, considered, then stood, walked to where it landed, picked it up, brought it back. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. That was the difference now. Everything was choice. Nothing was obligation. A vehicle pulled up to the long driveway. Familiar engine sound. Kane's truck. The younger officer stepped out. Not in uniform. Weekend visit. Bringing his new K-9 partner. A young German shepherd named Atlas. Eager. Energetic. Reminding Wolf of Titan at that age. Morning, Kane called. Thought we'd stop by. Show Atlas where legends retire. Wolf smiled. Coffee's on. They settled on the porch, Atlas and Titan sizing each other up. The young dog curious, the old dog patient, showing him the ropes through presence rather than dominance. Department misses you, Kane said. Both of you. We miss it sometimes, Wolf admitted. But this is right. This is where we needed to be. They talked for an hour about cases, about the new recruits, about how the Titan standard had spread to departments in 40 states now. How K-9 behavioral protocols had changed because one dog had been brave enough to be right when everyone else was wrong. And how one officer had been brave enough to listen. Before Kane left, he knelt beside Titan. You changed everything, old friend. You know that Titan's tail moved. Once. Recognition. The department's naming the new K-9 training facility after you. Titan Center. Opens next month. You should come to the ceremony. Wolf looked at his partner. What do you think, boy? One more public appearance. Titan looked back, and in his eyes was something Wolf had learned to read perfectly over the years. Not now, not anymore. That part of life is done. We'll pass, Wolf said gently, but we're honored. Kane understood. Fair enough, you've both earned your peace. After Kane left, Wolf and Titan walked down to the river. Their daily routine, morning patrol of a different kind. They moved slowly. No rush, no deadline, just two partners enjoying the morning. At the water's edge, Titan stopped, looked out over the current, remembering perhaps, or just being present. Dogs lived in the moment in ways humans never could. Wolf sat on a fallen log, Titan beside him. You know what I figured out? Wolf said. Not expecting an answer, never expecting an answer, but talking anyway. That week, when everything fell apart, when I thought I'd lost you, that was the moment I actually found you. He ran his hand along Titan's back, feeling the familiar shape, the gray-tipped fur, the solid weight of a partner who'd never wavered. Because before that, I thought I knew what partnership meant. Thought it was about you following me, about commands and control and authority. A bird called somewhere in the trees. Titan's ear twitched toward it, cataloging, always cataloging. But that's not what partnership is, never was. Wolf's voice grew quiet, reflective. Partnership is listening, understanding, trusting that your partner sees things you can't, knows things you don't. He looked at Titan, really looked. You taught me that, not through training, through truth, through being exactly who you were, even when the world told you you were wrong. Titan turned his head, met Wolf's eyes, and in that gaze was everything they'd been through. The warehouse, the isolation, the doubt, the redemption, the hundreds of missions after, the lives saved, the trust rebuilt. We did good, didn't we? Wolf said softly. Titan's tail moved. Acknowledgement. They had. Not because they were perfect, but because they were partners. Real partners. The kind who listened to each other, trusted each other, believed in each other even when belief was hard. That evening, as the sun set over the Michigan woods, Wolf sat on the porch, Titan at his feet, both of them watching the light change. The day ending, another one beginning tomorrow. Wolf's phone buzzed. Text message from Liam Bennett, now 13, growing up strong, healthy, planning to apply to the police academy when he turned 18. The message was simple. Thinking about Titan today. Tell him thanks again for everything. Wolf read it to Titan. You hear that, boy? You've still got fans. But Titan was already dozing, head on his paws, breathing steady, content. Wolf set the phone aside, looked at his partner, his friend, the dog who taught him more about courage and persistence and loyalty than any training manual ever could. Sleep well, he whispered. We earned this. And they had. Every quiet moment, every peaceful sunrise, every day without pressure or expectation or duty. They'd earned it by never giving up, by staying true, by proving that sometimes the greatest strength isn't in never falling down. It's in getting back up together. Titan's breathing deepened, sleep taking him somewhere dogs go when they dream, chasing something, protecting someone, doing what he was born to do, but now in dreams only. Because in waking life, his work was done, the missions completed, the lives saved, the standard set. Wolf reached down, rested his hand on Titan's head one more time. Thank you, he said, simply, for everything, for the partnership, for the lessons, for never stopping being exactly who he was, for being Titan. The sun disappeared below the tree line. Darkness settled over the property. Stars began appearing in the Michigan sky. Wolf stood, stretched. Come on, boy, let's go inside. Titan lifted his head, stood slowly, old joints protesting slightly, but still moving, still strong enough. They walked into the cabin together, side by side, the way they'd always been, the way they'd always be. And in that final image, two partners crossing a threshold into warmth and safety and home, there was everything anyone needed to know about what it meant to truly understand another soul. Not to control them, not to command them, but to listen to them, trust them, believe them, even when the world said you were wrong. Titan settled onto his bed by the fireplace. Wolf in his chair nearby, both of them exactly where they belonged. Home, safe, together, where they'd always belonged. The end.